Hello everyone, welcome to my first Mashup review of October. So I have 3 books I want to share with you. My Mashup reviews, or I take usually 3 books and review them for you all in one video. I try to keep it spoiler free for the most part. This is going to be hard today because I'm talking about a sequel, but I tell you what they're about, what I thought about them, and what I rated them. And they're just all in one video. So as always, the timestamps will be down below in case you want to hear about one particular book in general. The books I will be talking about today are Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell, Now Entering Adamsville by Francesca Zappia, and Strange Grace by Tessa Gratton. So let's begin with Wayward Son. So I will try not to spoil this as much as I can. I would say if you haven't read Carry On, maybe don't watch this review. The timestamps are down below for you to skip to a different one. But I thought I don't have too much to say about it to garner its own review, honestly. So I thought it's okay to put it in a match review. I hope that's okay as well. So Wayward Son is the sequel to Carry On. If you don't know what Carry On is about Simon Snow. Simon Snow is kind of like a parody of Harry Potter, if you will. Simon Snow is the chosen one. He goes to a magic school called Watford. He has a best friend named Penelope. He has a girlfriend named Agatha, and his roommate is Baz, who is he's pretty sure is a vampire, and they kind of have a hate relationship, but it might delve into something more. So it's kind of, like I said, a Harry Potter-esque type of thing where it's kind of a parody of it. They use magic very differently. They have sayings that, people have said that are kind of famous sayings, like, kiss will make it all better, that'll heal and stuff like that. So it's it's kind of satire-y, kind of witty. I loved Carry On. I was very nervous to read it because everyone loves that book. But if you go into it thinking it's kind of like Harry Potter, but like a funnier, just lighthearted thing that's kind of a parody of it, I think you really like it. I know I did. So I was very excited for Wayward Son. And I did not love it as much as Carry On. Wayward Son is very different in the fact of the tone of it, honestly. Carry On is light and whimsical, and throughout the end of it, Simon Snow kind of struggles with his identity as the chosen one, much like Harry Potter. But Wayward Son really encompasses that. Like, even the beginning, I'll read you the very first page. I think that really sets the tone of the whole book. It says, everything was a story, and Simon was the hero. He saved the day. That's when stories end, with everyone looking ahead to happily ever after. Much like a lot of fantasy books, much like Harry Potter. This is what happens if you try to hang on to after the end. When your time has come and passed, when you've done the thing you were meant to do, the theater goes dark, the pages go blank. Everything is a story, and Simon Snow's is over. So I think that's on the very first page, really sets the tone of the entire book. So this is like what happens after the end, what happens when Simon kind of, defeats the big bad, and what his life is like after that, how it's kind of grim and dark, and he's struggling to find himself, and him and Baz are struggling in a relationship. This book is basically about Simon, Baz, and Penelope all going to America to visit Agatha because they kind of think that she's in trouble. And throughout that, they go on a cross-country road trip, and they get into a whole bunch of heap of trouble with vampires, with magical folks, things like that. It's, it's fun, but it's definitely very heavy toned because Simon is struggling so much in this book, and so is Baz, and so is Penelope. They're all kind of lost, and, Simon Snow kind of encompasses all of that. So overall, I gave this book a 4 out of 5. I still really enjoyed it. I love these characters. I love the magical world. I did really miss London a lot in this series. I'm excited for them to go back to London because I think that's where the heart of this book is. Like, do I think if there was a book of Harry Potter visiting America, would I love it as much? And the answer is probably not. I love the appeal of London. I love that it's set in the setting, and I just love learning all about that. So I don't know, maybe that's just me, but overall 4 out of 5. It's definitely, much darker. It does have a lot of satire. It does have a lot of some romantic moments, some funny moments, but it's a much deeper message, kind of a grittier book overall, which is why I didn't love it. Like, I appreciated it, but I just wanted a fun satire book like Carry On was. But I understand that with characters you have to have growth and some setbacks and things like that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts if you read Wayward Son, if you loved it or not. I still love the writing. I love the characters, like I said. It's just a much serious toned book. Moving on to Now Entering Adamsville by Francesca Zappia. I did not know she had a book coming out, so when I heard about it, I quickly swept it up. This one is a contemporary book, and it's set in this town called Adamsville, which has had a lot of, strange things happen, a lot of fires. There's been a lot of ghost talk about it. We follow a character named Zora, and Zora's family is not, know, they're not in the best light. They kind of really don't like her family. Her mother went missing years ago. Her dad's currently in jail for like fraud and stealing and things like that. And Zora has been accused of setting a lot of fires in Adamsville, and she knows that she didn't. So that's what's going on in this book. Also, there's like a ghost documentary show coming into town to Adamsville that's going to film because they've heard really, you know, spooky and creepy things in Adamsville. And also Zora can see said ghost. So it's all about her journey with proving her innocence, also trying to fight the evil with ghosts and things like that. And I did not like this book that much. It's very sad to say because I loved Eliza and Her Monsters. This one was just so different, and not in the regard because it's kind of paranormal and takes a step away from contemporary a little bit, because I still would classify this with contemporary but with a twist of a little paranormal. It was a lot of learning about like these different, like I thought it was mostly about ghosts, but it's really not. Ghosts are kind of in the back burner, if you will. Zora has to do with these things called fire starters and these kind of creatures, and they had to explain it several times, and they explained it several times, and I still did not get it. I feel like it just came out of nowhere. Like Zora had this mission to do this, and we didn't really figure out more about it. So I'd say the world building and like the whole that kind of aspect kind of fell flat for me in this book, and honestly it was kind of it kind of was slow throughout the entirety of it. Zora had a mission and she had to accomplish this thing, but it took forever to get there, and there wasn't enough like oomph to keep the book going, in my opinion. Now the reviews are also kind of mixed as well as how I feel about this book. There's some 5-star reviews, there's a lot of 3-star reviews, which is like myself. I gave this book a 3 out of 5. I liked it, but I wanted a lot more from it. Is it atmospheric? Definitely. It's definitely a perfect time to read this book because it's very spooky in the spooky setting with all these ghosts and stuff, but I wanted ghosts to be more prevalent in this book. They just kind of were there and you heard that they were there and that was it. It's more about these fire starters and these creatures that we really don't know anything about, and that we kept talking about them, but I'm like, we don't know anything about them. Like it was very confusing to me. Maybe I'm the only one that feels that way, but overall I liked it. I didn't love it. I just wanted more from it. Bottom line is to it. And I hate saying that because I love her writing and I love her characters, but this one just fell flat for me, sadly. So 3 out of 5. You know, it's a middle of the road book for me. Lastly, I want to talk about Strange Grace by Tessa Groton. This is a backlist book. I believe it came out last year, and I purchased it this year to save for said October because it's the perfect time to read it. So this book is very interesting. I really enjoyed it, honestly. So we have this village, and a long time ago, this village made a bargain with the devil. So every 7 years when the slaughter moon rises, the village sends their best boy into the forest as a sacrifice for the devil. And basically when that happens, they have 7 more years of prosperity. Like the crops are good, there's nobody that dies, nobody gets sick or hurt. Everything's just hunky-dory in this village because every 7 years they sacrifice one of their own. Now sometimes the boys that go into these woods come out, but they come out completely different. They've seen things, they had an encounter with the devil and things like that. So in this book we follow 3 characters. We follow Marwyn, I hopefully pronounced that right, who is a witch of this village. Then we have Rune, who is the expected saint. That's what they call like kind of the sacrifices, like if you're the saint of the village. Then we have Author, who is an outcast who is desperately trying to fit in. All these 3 characters play in part of this slaughter moon. Basically when it happens, they venture into the forest and learn things that they never thought they would learn about this sacrifice. So overall, I really enjoyed this book. I wanted to give it a 5 out of 5 so bad, but it wasn't quite there for me yet, so I'd give it a 4 out of 5, but I still really enjoyed it. Is it atmospheric? Yes. It's about the creepy forest and how the devil lives in the forest and how there's all these creatures and like bones, and just really, this book goes there with the gore. Like there's a lot of blood talk, a lot of sacrifices, things like that. So I really enjoyed it. It was definitely very creepy, very atmospheric. This also deals a lot with a polyamorous relationship, which I never thought I would say in a YA book, but here it is. I enjoyed it, honestly. I thought it was very interesting. I've never read a book like that before, because Marwyn, Rune, and Author, who are just in a triangle, and you know, they all kind of love one another, and they go into the forest and they, you know, do things, and it's just, I don't want to give the book away, but it's just, the ending I didn't love as much. Like the very last ending I loved, but when they have the big twist, I didn't love it, surprisingly. I was just like, So I think that's why I gave it a 4 out of 5, but I still enjoyed the journey that this took. It reminded me a lot of the movie called The Village, where, you know, this village believes in something and they, you know, this is what they do. They teach their kids this stuff. And then when they figure out the truth, it's like a huge veil gets lifted. That's kind of what Strange Grace reminds me of, because you're in this village and everybody thinks about the forest and, you know, these saints that keep them safe for every 7 years and things like that. That's all they know, and they believe in that, and they put witchcraft in it, and they do all this stuff. So I really enjoyed it. I believe this is a standalone, so I'd highly recommend it. It's a perfect book to read for fall, especially Halloween, because it'll definitely give you creepy vibes with the devil, and the forest will talk to you, and the woods. It's just so creepy and atmospheric, and I don't hear a ton of people talk about this book, and I definitely think it needs to be read more, so I would highly recommend checking it out. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on these 3 books right here. I enjoyed them all for different reasons. If you just want kind of a fun but kind of deeper, darker book, I would check out this one. If you want one about a town full of ghosts, but it doesn't really end up being about ghosts, check out this one. And if you want like a kind of a creepy village set near the woods with the devil, definitely check out this one. I would love to hear your thoughts if you've read any of these. Did we have the same thoughts? Did we not? I would love to hear your feedback. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.